last segment, okay? And I just realized my hairstyle is the same, so I gotta change that. If you haven't caught, I changed my hairstyle every single video of these last series. I don't even know what, oh well, so be it, okay? So, covalent compounds is the very last one. When we look at covalent compounds, we're looking at, if you look at the periodic table, all nonmetals. So, covalent compounds refer to only nonmetals. Plus, if you remember, hydrogen is a nonmetal. Hydrogen is a nonmetal. So, anytime that those are hanging out without anything ionic or any metal, those are covalent compounds. The good news is naming it's pretty simple. You don't have to worry about the eights and the ites, anything like that. You don't have to worry about Roman numerals. It's not too bad at all. So let's look at the rules. Let's give you a few examples, and we'll be done with all of the naming. So, covalent compounds. Let's look at the rules. So rule number 1 is going to be essentially the first one stays the same, but it will have a prefix if there's more than one of them. First one stays the same, but has a prefix if there's more than one of them. Okay? So we're going to give you a couple examples of that. Make sure to look at that. That just essentially means that, I was going to say sodium. Sulfur is going to stay sulfur. Phosphorus will stay phosphorus, oxygen, oxygen, so on and so forth. Okay? We'll make sense of that here in a minute. Number 2, the second name ends in IDE, so that's not a surprise, right? They all end in IDE for the second one, except for the polyatomics. Note. Okay? Ends in IDE, and it's sometimes, or actually in all cases, it's going to get a prefix. And it's always going to get a prefix. Okay? So let's look at these. Let's make sense of these. Once again, the rules. First name stays the same, but has a prefix if there's more than one of them. The second name ends in IDE. That's always going to be the case in covalent compound. And always gets a prefix. So let's take a look. PS2. PS2, if you're a PlayStation fan, you would know this was a PlayStation a long time ago. You might not even have ever had a PlayStation 2. We'll see. But let's take a look at our naming real quick. These are the prefixes. Prefix means comes before the atom in this case. So if you take a look at your chart, zoom in real quick. Okay, there they are. You should remember them as mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta, octa, nona, and deca. Those are your 10 that you need to remember. Okay, you're going to have those memorized, but it's not too hard. Mono, you know, is 1. Di, sometimes I think bi is 2, because it has that meaning as well. But we're going to use di, tri, tetra, stuff like that. So, P, first name stays the same. That's the rule. So P is phosphorus. It says we need a prefix if there's more than one, but there's only one in this case. S is for sulfur. But wait, the rule. Number 2, the rule number 2, says it ends in IDE. So sulfur changes to sulfide. Okay? The other part of that rule said that it always gets a prefix. So how many sulfurs do we have? We have 2 sulfurs. So 2 is di. And remember, the prefix comes before the word. So to name this, this will be phosphorus disulfide. Phosphorus disulfide. Not too bad. That's pretty much the extent of it. So that's the good news. So let's look at a couple more. Total disclaimer, some of these may not exist, okay? Some of these may not exist at all, sorry. Naming them does work though. And by exist, I mean maybe someone could have utilized or created it, but generally we don't use these for everyday activities. As you saw from the ionic versus covalent, we do use covalent compounds a lot. All of your drugs are made up of covalent compounds. A lot of your foods are made up of covalent compounds. So we use covalent compounds a lot, but when naming these, I have to name the really small ones, the ones with just 2 different atoms. Okay, they have to have 2 of them, so it's binary, and that makes it a little bit tougher to come up with real-world ones that we use on a constant basis. So let's look at N2F5. First one stays the same. But if there is more than one, it gets a prefix. Nitrogen, there's more than one. There's 2. Dinitrogen, okay? And then we have 5 fluorines. 5 fluorines. So, we write it the same way. It ends in IDE. Okay? It ends in IDE. And we see how many there are. 5 of them. 5, looking at this list right here, is penta. So pentafluoride. Yes, I spelled fluorine correct, I do believe. It's really weird. One of the students is going to get this joke. We love you, don't worry. Okay? But that's dinitrogen pentafluoride. Okay? Let's take a look at a couple more. Let's just make up something. Hard one here, you might already know it. C, carbon. One of them, just keep it the same. Oxygen changes to oxide. 2 of them, dioxide. Carbon dioxide. Okay, does exist obviously. You can do carbon monoxide. If you were going to say carbon monoxide, carbon, oxide, mono means 1. 1 oxygen, 1 carbon. Carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. Okay? If we look at acid rain, sulfur dioxide, pretty much acid rain is a combination of these oxygens. Just in case you were wondering, if you ever hear acid rain, it just means that there's a lot of sulfur oxides in there, whether it's sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide, anything like that. That's your acid rain. Okay? Let's go through one more example, make sure that you can do it, and then that's it for covalent naming, and that is it for what you need to know for naming. So study up, because the test is coming soon. P6Cl10, P, phosphorus. How many do we have? Diphosphorus. 2. Okay? Remember, stays the same. If there's a prefix, great. If you have more than one, put the prefix. If there's not more than one, keep it the same. So this is Oh, I said di. Looking at that, it looks like a 2, but it's backwards. That's not a 2. That's a 6. So 6 being hexa. Hopefully you stayed with me on that. It's not a 2, it's P6Cl10. So therefore it's hexa, meaning 6, phosphorus. And then you have 10 chlorines. So the ending, chlorine, changes to IDE, chloride. And how many do we have? We have 10. 10 means deca, or deca means 10. It's obviously getting really late. I can't hardly talk anymore. So by that, I guess we are almost done with this video. This is covalent naming for binary compounds, meaning you only have two atoms there that make up the compound. Okay, they're all covalent. So covalent uses prefixes. Ionic does not. Ionic will never use prefixes. Please remember that. Never put prefix on ionic compounds. Okay, they will be just as confused as you are.